All 27 Maldives hostages held aboard a mercenary boat fleeing the island of Malé after an abortive attempt were freed by the Indian Army. President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom told a news conference in Malé that the mercenary ship had surrendered and no one was killed. The mercenary ship was captured 60 nautical miles south of Sri Lanka. Indian naval commandos earlier stormed the freighter and crippled it. President Gayoom said this was because negotiations with the mercenaries, which had been going on for 24 hours, were leading nowhere. 3 of the hostages were found slightly injured. The ship carrying hostages and mercenaries was believed to be heading towards Colombo. The Press Trust of India, quoting a senior Indian naval commander in Malé, said Maldives Transport Minister Ahmed Mujtara was among the hostages freed. All the mercenaries aboard the freighter had been captured. President Gayoom said they would be brought back to Malé and would be tried according to Maldives law. He also said 2 other boats carrying escaping mercenaries were still at large. He added that the authorities would get at them soon. The mercenaries had tried to stage an armed coup on Thursday. The Indian troops were called in by President Gayoom to crush the coup attempt.
Out. The task force commander, Brigadier Balsara himself, interrogated some of these mercenaries.
English? Where are you from?
Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. But how did you have a AK-47 rifle?
I don't know, but somebody is told, you come and driving the boat.
I see.
Please come.
Photograph. Man with
Training.
all training.
So it is training.
Hurrah.
Ranchi is also Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
They're all the training.
Same man. If you notice, same guy who's been injured.
Who's been claiming that
Who's been claiming that he's been a driver. He was also driving a boat.
Also driver.
Where are you from? You were also driving a boat.
Leaders. The mercenaries from Sri Lanka who attempted a coup in the Maldives last week are to stand trial. About 50 of them, including the ringleaders, have been detained by Indian troops who were called in to crush the coup.
The Indian warships had tracked the mercenaries' ship Progress Light for 2 days. After they attacked it with more gunfire, the 46 mercenaries on board finally surrendered. Marine commandos were then able to board the ship and release the hostages held on it. According to the Indian government, 4 of the hostages had already been killed and 3 were unaccounted for. 7 of the 20 hostages rescued from the ship are in the South Indian port city of Trivandrum receiving treatment for bullet injuries. While the search continues for the other mercenaries at sea, it appears on land that work for more than 1,000 Indian paratroopers called in to bolster the Maldives security service is over with the successful crushing of the coup attempt.
In New Caledonia,
They passed off quietly.
Hari lalu lebih 150 orang askar upahan terlibat. 51 orang ditahan dan 3 orang lagi dibunuh. Yang lain sedang dicari oleh pasukan keselamatan India dan Maldives di pulau-pulau berhampiran serta sebuah kapal yang diguna untuk melarikan diri. 100 orang yang disyaki terlibat juga sedang disoal siasat di Malé. Yang terlibat secara langsung sedang disoal siasat di atas kapal Ibn Godavari. Antaranya ialah Ketua Cubaan Rampasan Kuasa Abdullah Lusufi. Dia bersama 45 orang lagi ditawan apabila kapal mereka diserang oleh tentera laut India. 27 orang tebusan diselamatkan, 4 orang mati dan 3 orang lagi hilang. Presiden Maumoon Abdul Gayoom menyatakan pengkhianat itu akan dibicarakan dan jika didapati bersalah akan dihukum mati. Dalam pada itu, lebih 500 orang daripada 1,600 orang para komando India di Maldives sudah kembali semula ke garrison masing-masing di India.
And we have recovered the hand grenades. Some of the magazines are...
Sri Lanka lumpuh kerana He was accompanied by his wife, Madam Nasrina Qayyum, Minister of Foreign Affairs Fathullah Jamil, Minister of State for Presidential Affairs Abbas Ibrahim, the Maldivian Ambassador in India Ahmad Abdullah, Director of National Security Ambari Abdul Sattar, and the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Home Affairs Ibrahim Hussain Zaki. The President was greeted at the airport by members of the Cabinet and senior government officials. President and Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, our sincere thanks for the warm welcome and hospitality you and your government has extended to us. My wife, members of my delegation, and I are indeed overwhelmed by the wonderful arrangements made to make our stay in Delhi most comfortable. In particular, I wish to thank you for the exclusive travel arrangements you have facilitated for our journey to and from Delhi, without which I would have had to be away from Male for a much longer duration. I must say that the extensive discussions I had with you and your ministers provided me the much needed opportunity to exchange views on matters of immediate concern to both our countries. I have asked our foreign ministry to follow up the points raised in our discussions. Let me reiterate, my dear Prime Minister, my sincere wishes for your good health and happiness and for the continued progress and prosperity of the people of India. President Maumoon Abdul Qayyum has said the Maldives is a good example of perfect democracy. Speaking at a press conference in New Delhi yesterday, President Qayyum said, "It is not a number of political parties or even single party that constituted a democracy." Answering a question from one of the reporters, he defined democracy as a government formed for the people, formed by the people for the people. He also said, "It is one that can be dissolved on the wish of the people." President Qayyum said the Maldives was such a government, and he said he saw Maldives as a good example of perfect democracy. In reply to a question from another reporter, President Qayyum said the Maldives neither signed nor discussed a defense agreement with India during his visit there. He said there were already a number of existing arrangements between the two countries and that he did not want another agreement as yet. Asked whether he sought weapons from India during his visit, President Qayyum said it was not weapons that was needed for the country at this time. He said it was training for the security forces and added that discussions were held on obtaining training for Maldivian security forces in India. At the press conference packed to capacity at Shastri Bhavan Press Conference Hall in Delhi, President Qayyum also answered questions about the recent attack on the country. He said he could not regard the attack as an attempted coup because the two Maldivians involved were people who have been convicted of various crimes and were not political figures. The fact that the two Maldivians brought foreign mercenaries and they did not win any public support, he said, was another reason. He said he saw the November 3rd attack as an armed aggression by foreign mercenaries. President Qayyum said 68 foreign nationals and 2 Maldivians were in custody in connection with the attack. He also said all the foreign nationals were Sri Lankans belonging to a Tamil group called People's Liberation Organization of Tamil Eelam Plot. He said, however, it was not yet clear whether the leaders of the organizations were involved. He added that investigations were now underway. Asked whether the November 3rd attack might have any adverse effects on tourism, President Qayyum said the worldwide publicity received by the Maldives due to the attack might even increase the flow of tourism to the country. President Qayyum said due to the need for increased spending on defense now, some developmental programs might have to be slowed down. Some of those wounded in the November 3rd attack returned to Male after medical treatment in India. President Maumoon Abdul Qayyum was at the official jetty to meet those who returned. They included 2 people who were seriously injured in Male and 3 people held hostage on the hijacked freighter Progress Light earlier. They were Mrs. Ursula Mujtaba, Ismail Nasir of Machangoli Bougainvillea and Hassan Said of Mafanu Nufia. The other 2 were First Lieutenant Rambika Adam Manik and Adam Ibrahim of haqeeqathakee. All 5 people were brought back by the India Air Force plane.
Welcome back. I'm very happy also. Must have been a terrible experience.
Anyway, so nice to be here. Very nice to have you back. I was really feeling the really very bad. I, of course, was one of the luckier ones. Didn't get injured all that much.
But you still had this...
With a fracture, also with a fracture, yeah. One bullet went through my jawbone. They had to remove it and quickly.
It is not so hard. I mean, no more, you know. So it went through my jawbone, it cracked my jawbone, and I had somewhere inside that I had to do something.
It was a very bad experience. We were very worried about you and Mr. Brown about the rest of us.
Yes. Now, we never thought we would come out alive. Never, ever. I mean, we had given up. I mean, but we are alive. It is just now we are thinking we're having a second life. But really, we never thought we would come out alive. Now it is very strange. So I'm trying to do that, but I told Muchan to follow up. If he should now see these few days, because he's still lying in bed and he cannot stay.
Parties or even a single party that constituted a democracy. Answering a question from one of the reporters, he defined democracy as a government formed by the people for the people. He also said it is one that can be dissolved on the wish of the people. President Qayyum said the Maldives was such a government and said he saw the Maldives as a good example of a perfect democracy. In reply to a question from another reporter, President Qayyum said the Maldives neither signed nor discussed a defense agreement with India during his visit there. He said there were already a number of existing agreements between the two countries and that he did not want another agreement as yet. Asked whether he sought weapons from India during this visit, President Qayyum said it was not weapons that was needed most for the country at this time. He said it was training for the security forces and added that discussions were held on obtaining training in India for Maldivian security forces. At the press conference packed to capacity at the Shastra Bhavan Press Conference Hall in Delhi, President Qayyum also answered questions about the recent armed attack on the country. He said he could not regard the attack as an attempted coup because the two Maldivians involved were people who have been convicted of various crimes and were not political figures. The fact that the two Maldivians brought foreign mercenaries and that they did not win any public support, he said, was another reason. He said he saw the November 3rd attack as an armed aggression by foreign nationals and two Maldivians were in custody in connection with the attack. He also said all the foreign nationals were Sri Lankans belonging to a Tamil group called the People's Liberation Organization of Tamil Eelam Plot. He said, however, it was not yet clear whether the leaders of the organization were involved and added that investigations were now underway. Asked whether the November 3rd attack might have any adverse effects on tourism, President Qayyum said, the worldwide publicity received by the Maldives due to the attack might even increase the flow of tourists to the country. President Qayyum said that due to the need for increased spending on defense now, some developmental programs might have to be slowed down.
And I would like to thank the government of India for its warm welcome and excellent arrangement made for me, my wife and members of my delegation to stay here. And I welcome the opportunity of meeting with you today because I understand that you might have some questions to ask about the situation in the Maldives and the episode we recently experienced there. So in order to give you sufficient time or more time to ask questions, I would like to end my very short opening remarks by thanking once again the government of India and its people for the very warm welcome they have extended to me and members of my delegation. Thank you.
Have you signed some agreement today?
No.
Please identify yourself.
I'm Vijay Naik of Sakar from Bombay. I just wanted to ask you, Could you tell us something about your visit to India and what is the outcome of it, you see? Because it is immediately after the developments that have taken place in Mali.
This visit was to have taken place sometime earlier, but I had to reschedule the meeting, and so this is not a direct outcome of the mercenary attack that we experienced last month. This was a round of talks that we had agreed to hold to review bilateral relations and regional matters.
Supplementary to this, why was your previous visit put off? I mean, this is the one thing which has been on our minds. Was it anything to do with what happened 3 days later?
Not at all. You know, I was elected for a third term and my inauguration was to have taken place as it did on the 11th of November. So I thought that I would like to have more time at home to prepare for the occasion. So I got in touch with the Prime Minister and we agreed that we should reschedule the meeting.
This is Misra from that direction. You are the most popular leader of the island republic of Mali.
Thank you.
And 96% popular votes you got when you got elected on the third. But only few, about 15 or 20, the armed people came from outside. And the people of Mali, knowing that you are such a popular leader, they didn't come to your rescue. And you had to seek the help from a foreign country. Now could you just tell us, with this, how long you will be able to rule over your people with the assistance from outside?
Well, I think you are misinformed, because the people of my country came to my help, came to the help of their government, but they were unarmed people. They couldn't very well have fought with heavily armed bandits who had come to our land. So I had to ask for help, which was quite a logical step that I had to make, because I was elected by the people and the people expected me to safeguard their independence and their sovereignty. They wouldn't have wanted me to sit aside just as an onlooker and let things take their own course. That's why I asked for Indian help, which I received, and I will remain as president as long as my people want me to.
Mr. President, this is a related question, you know. I mean, these 4,000 Sri Lankans who make a living in your country apparently have been asked to go back to Sri Lanka in a period of 6 months. There has been a lot of criticism of this move in the Sri Lankan media, and the newspapers in Sri Lanka are even suggesting that you have done this at the Indians' instance so that the Indians could be given these jobs. Now,